power output as a function of duty cycle, and you can see that the power output keeps on increasing up to about 50% duty cycle, power output of roughly 2 watts. The wall plug efficiency, this is the real efficiency and not the device efficiency. This is the power that goes into electronics that drives the QCL divided into the optical power output. Wall plug efficiency at 1 watt power level is roughly 12%. At 2 watt power level, it is still greater than 9%. A critical advantage of operating lasers, QCLs in quasi-CW mode is their very exemplary high temperature operation. These QCLs will continue to operate at temperatures as high as 67 or 70 degrees centigrade. Yes, with slightly lower power output, but they will continue to operate, and this performance is reversible. You go to high temperatures, power output will be less. You come back to lower temperature, you get your original power output back. And the right-hand slide shows the same curve that I showed on the left-hand side, which is power output, average power output versus duty cycle for 3 different temperatures of operation. Room temperature roughly 300 degrees Kelvin. Next one is at 320 degrees Kelvin, and the last one is at 340 degrees Kelvin, which is at 67 degrees centigrade. So for many field applications, clearly this is of enormous advantage. Where you don't know at what temperature the lasers will be operating, you want to make sure that the lasers will continue to operate, perhaps with lower performance. One slide on reliability. These are all performance data at very high power levels greater than 2 watts. We have carried out studies up to roughly 3,000 to 4,000 hours, at which point we got bored. Many other people have done similar studies at much lower power, roughly 100 milliwatts, and have shown that the lifetime of these lasers exceeds tens of thousands of hours, roughly 20,000 hours. So we are quite confident that even at very high power levels, these are very reliable devices. Not having the thermoelectric cooler, you can make the devices, the packaging, the last, what you provide for usage, very small. Here is a photograph of a miniature, fully packaged quantum cascade laser. This is where the QCL sits. This is the electronics driver. Power output from this system can be as high as 3 watts at 4.6 microns. The entire size of the package is 1 inch by 4.5 inches by ½ inch high, and it weighs only 50 grams, less than 2 ounces. All this thing requires is 24 volt input to produce the power output that I mentioned there. It can be packaged into a small tabletop device. Even with tabletop device, the whole thing only weighs 13 ounces, and most of the weight here is in the 4 CR123A batteries that we enclose inside to provide a truly portable system. With 4 CR123A batteries, these are batteries that go into your cameras. This laser will operate for 2 hours at a power output of 3 watts. 2 hours for okay. One of the questions that is always asked is, when one talks about applications, is how rugged are these quantum cascade lasers. So we have carried out environmental testing of these devices according to MIL standard 810G, which is the helicopter-like vibration, 20G shock, and temperature variation from -54 centigrade to +71. All of these devices, including electronics and the laser package, will meet the requirements for ruggedness. And just as an aside, we have also tested these devices at much higher shock levels. We have gone to shock levels of 1100 Gs. You can imagine what that shock level is used for. I won't tell you about it, but 1100 Gs, which is, so these devices are incredibly rugged in terms of practical applications. This slide shows several power output versus current drive characteristics before and after testing. You can't tell the difference between before and after, which tells you that the performance hasn't changed. And these are the various ways in which one can package these lasers. Let me turn to not single QCL but multiple QCLs, because for many applications you need more than one wavelength available from the system. And so we have a system that we put together. It's a high brightness system, multiple wavelength, has 4 different kinds of lasers. This is what you need for infrared countermeasures that I just mentioned. A laser at 2 microns, a laser radiation at 4 microns, and laser radiation at 4.6. And what we do here for the 2 mid-wave and long-wave lasers is that we use orthogonal polarizations, combine them, use polarization beam combining to give you twice the power output. So we have something close to 4 watts at 4 microns, 6 watts at 4.6 microns, and 10 watts at 2 microns. This is a commercially obtained OEM laser. So the total power output from this system is approximately 10 watts. Beam quality parameter M square is under 1.2. So incredibly bright beam, and it's fairly light. It operates from 28 volts. As a result of this, you may have seen a press release that was put out by Northrop Grumman just about 4 or 5 months ago, where 2 4-watt and 2 4.6 watt QCLs made by us were incorporated into their version of the laser system that goes into infrared countermeasures. So let's turn to the second half of my talk, which is looking at tunable QCLs for detection of chemical warfare agents, toxic industrial chemicals, and explosives. If I look at the typical power output from a 4.6 micron Fabry-Perot device, it covers roughly 200 nanometers, broadband output, coherent but broadband output. Great for the first application or earlier set of applications, countermeasures, testing countermeasures, target designators, and the beacons, but not good for spectroscopy. You need to make this output into a single mode, and technology has been around for 40 or 50 years to make multi-broadband lasers into single wavelength laser. You take such a device, in this particular case, the QCL sitting there, 2 beam collimating lenses, and a grating here, and changing the angle of the grating will give you tunable radiation. We know all about it. I won't spend much time here. If one takes such a device and looks at power output, single frequency power output from such a device, tunable from roughly 4.45 micrometers to almost 4.85 micrometers, with peak power output in this particular case in the center of the tuning curve of roughly 300 milliwatts. Fairly high power output, continuous wave, room temperature operation. One can package this in a very, very compact fashion. The entire system, drive electronics, QCL, and the grating drive sits there and can be put into a very, very small package. This particular device, with the center frequency at 4.3 microns, is tunable from 4 micrometers to 4.5 micrometers. Power output at the center of the tuning curve greater than 250 milliwatts. There are no fans, there is no noise, no water cooling. It's just passively cooled system, and just the only thing it requires is a computer grade power supply, 24 volts, and a laptop for operation. One can take multiple of these devices, package into one single system to give you broad tuning. One of the things that you notice is that to get high powers, our tuning range is roughly half a micrometer. So if you want to cover a very broad range, you will need to have multiple lasers, and that is something that that is also we have done here. Which is what you need, for example, here, a system that has 4 lasers, one at 7.7, one at 8.5, one at 9.5, and one at 10.4. You can cover the range from roughly 7 micrometers to 11 micrometers with power output substantially greater than 50 milliwatts in any of these spectral region. So, if you have this kind of tunable laser source, what are the applications? And one of the clearest application is detection of chemical warfare agents, both in situ, so a sniffer, as well as for standoff detection. First, let's ask the question, what are the wavelengths that are needed for detection of CWAs, explosives, and TICs? For CWAs, this spectral region typically is from roughly 9 micrometers to 11 micrometers. And for some other CWAs, you need 4 to 9 microns. Most of the explosives are also in the 4 to 9 micron region. So what we find is that if we have a tunable laser, for example, from 7 micrometers to 12 micrometers, you can cover most chemical warfare agents and most of the explosives.